welcome to the Sacred Priestess podcast, where I help beautiful awakening women activate their sacred feminine power so that they can find clarity, connection, and confidence in their spiritual healing journey. I'm Hayley. Thank you so much for being here today. It's so great to have you with me in this conversation as we continue to activate the divine feminine on the planet, as we continue to bring this back into balance, moving forward into the beautiful world that we are creating now as we go forward. So in today's episode, we're actually talking about the rose and the serpent, these two halves of the divine feminine. I read a tiny little passage about this a couple of days ago, and it just sort of got me thinking about these separate halves. I mean, they're not really separate, but these two halves of the divine feminine within myself, and how that has shown up for me, and how I work with them, and how I see them in different parts of my life and aspects of my life, and where I connect to them in different places in my life. And I just sort of thought that I'd share this concept with you and share this with you so that you could do the same, and you could have a look at where these two halves, the divine feminine of the rose and the serpent energy, that primordial energy of the divine feminine, invite you to just see how they may show up in your life, and where you use them differently or connect into them differently. And thought it might be a beautiful little conversation to have today. So what I was reading was about the two ladies of Egypt, and Egypt being divided into an upper and lower half. So there's the upper white crown of the heart, so sort of like the celestial divine feminine, and then the lower, the red primordial feminine in that lower half. And I found it really, really interesting, and having a little look at a couple of different things, saw that in the ancient mystery schools there were red priestesses and white priestesses. So there were priestesses who predominantly practiced and were more connected to that celestial rose geometry connection, and those who were more and sort of like lunar connection. And then the red primordial priestesses that were more connected into the earth and earth magic and weaving in that way. And so it was really interesting to look into that a little bit further, which we can talk about more another day. So I was just reflecting on these halves, and wanted to talk about it. But before we go into that, I also just wanted to talk about that link between heaven and earth. Like, I talk about us as being the divine feminine, or the conduits for the divine feminine, as we connect to Sophia and bring the true God creator back into understanding and into perspective, into the consciousness of humanity, and how we are that link between that cosmic womb and the womb of Gaia, and the connection to the earth, and how we are the conduits for that energy, and bringing all of that into the planet and into humanity's consciousness. But this is also the Holy Trinity, right? The cosmic womb, our womb as females, and the womb of Gaia. That is the Holy Trinity. And, the womb is the Holy Grail. Everyone goes on about the Holy Grail and looking for this chalice. And again, this is a teaching we can go into, and a conversation we can go into at another time. And if these are teachings you want to go into, I highly recommend you popping your name on the VIP waitlist for the Sacred Priestess Inner Circle. So that's going to be a space that I'm opening up in September, where we get together every month and talk about these teachings, or a couple of times a month, talk about teachings, do activations with the goddesses and things like that. But the chalice is the womb. It is creation. So that is the Holy Grail, the womb. And if you have a look at what the womb looks like, it looks like a chalice. And it is, such, going back into mystery school teachings, and the way that the womb was honored, and the way that it was used, the ritual around it was so powerful, and in everything ingrained into everything. And so, yeah, just really interesting with this Holy Trinity of these wombs and the Holy Grail being that of the womb space as well. So, anywho, I digress. Let us have a little look at these upper and lower parts of the divine feminine. And when we're saying upper and lower, it's not because upper's better and lower's not. Like, it's just because, heaven, earth, upper and lower, heaven and earth. So with the upper cosmic womb, this celestial connection, it is that place of creation. It is the place of the womb of the divine mother, Sophia. Sophia is God. Sophia created us. She created earth. And this is her space, the cosmic womb, the space of all that is, and everything is created from this cosmic womb of the beautiful divine mother Sophia. So it is the connection to the rose geometry within our heart. It is the connection to the rose geometry of Venus, the connection to that planet, the connection to Venus as a space of, divine feminine balance and of womanhood, of beauty that comes through the divine feminine in all its forms and in all its ways. It's the connection to our starseed families and the original mothers, the seven sisters of the Pleiades. It's about the ascension to the cosmic womb. And as we go into talking about the lower womb, we have to descend to ascend. And when we do ascend, that is back to the cosmic womb, to the all that is, to recalibrate and start again. So we do have that beautiful divine feminine connection to that space, to Sophia, and that is what that upper cosmic womb, that celestial womb, is all about. And I know that, for me, in connecting into this space, when I'm connecting into my heart, when I'm connecting into Sophia, into the goddesses, into my higher self, this is the energy that comes forward of this white celestial upper divine feminine realm. So then we have the lower cosmic womb, the primordial connection, the connection to Gaia, to Tiamat, the serpent mother, serpent energy, connection to our own womb, our own the vastness of and the vastness of creation of our own sacred womb, the connection to the belief that, as here on earth, we are all one. So we are at one with nature. We are at one with the trees and the grasses and the animals, the waters. We all share that same energy. We are all connected by that energy. It's also that connection to the dark inner womb of Gaia, that core of Gaia, the crystalline core, but also, I see it and it comes forward to me as just a really deep, and this, no, I don't mean to freak anyone out if people are afraid of being underground in closed spaces, but I can just smell that dirt smell and that sort of like warm coziness of inner earth. That's what comes forward to me. And, I think this lower part of the divine feminine, or this, more earthly primordial divine feminine, is about those ancestral ties. It's about, deep ancestral knowing and remembrance. And of course, the connection to the telluric realm. If we're talking connection to the earth, we're talking connection to the fairies, the dragons, the Sasquatch, the elves, the pixies. That real divine feminine connection that is within the second dimensional frequency, which is that womb space. So these two halves really do bring us to that understanding that in order to ascend, we must descend. So we descend here into the 3D, I suppose people call it. I don't like saying it like that, but we come here into this space, we descend into this body, and we experience what we have here, and we go deep into the underworld. We go deep into these journeys of self-discovery, of remembrance, so that we can ascend into the celestial, back into the divine womb of Sophia. to, like I said, to start again. So when we look at really connecting into these spaces, and like I said before, I feel that sort of white upper celestial connection when I am connecting to my higher self, when I do sit and connect to God, Sophia, Christ, Sophia, the goddesses. So yeah, if we want to be sort of connecting more into this divine feminine element, we can be connecting through Goddess Sophia and, stepping into that understanding that Sophia is God. She is the creator. The feminine is the creator. It is that womb space. As above, so below. I don't want to get into a religious debate, but, here on earth, the feminine is the creator. The feminine births life. And that is the same above. It is the feminine that creates and births life. So she is the all that is. I am going to do I'm going to talk more about Sophia next week. And a little bit more about the pleroma and the universe as a whole. But, she is the creator of our universe, of where we sit within the great expansion of the cosmos. So, we can start understanding this, that she is our God and that she is our creator. And, we can also move into this more celestial feminine through connection to the rose teachings, the cosmic geometry that we have within our heart space and also within our womb, where we can connect to our twin planet, our sister planet Venus, and what that energy brings through for us and how we align with that. That beautiful planet, like I said before, of divine feminine balance, of womanhood, of beauty, but also of shadow. We also connect into that with the primordial, with that shadow. And in the mystery school, our representation of Venus, our representation that brings through connection to shadow, to womanhood, to divine feminine balance, to beauty, is Aphrodite. And we do work with her a lot. She is a beautiful energy to have in your space, in your meditation. We can also connect to this by opening to that, like I said, those rose geometries. So, I'd love to know how you feel your connection to that. Like I said, I also feel that that's the connection to higher self, anything that's sort of in that upper heart space connection, the heart's desires and all of that kind of thing. So I'd love to know how you feel about that and how you connect into that, or how you feel the parts of your life where you feel that coming in for you. And with the primordial feminine, the deep connection, the red priestess connection, I think this is more about connecting. When this comes forward for me and I was thinking about it, it's connecting to your own womb and, sharing too much information, but I've been on my cycle this week and, I'm in perimenopausal stages and I'm purposefully not buying into everything around perimenopause and menopause. I'm making a complete and utter decision to really honor the process spiritually and touch wood. I'm not huge on symptoms and it's not throwing me out on anything because I'm honoring the womb. I'm honoring where my womb is at. I'm honoring where my body is at in my feminine journey and what I'm stepping into, and really intentionally making sure that I'm not buying into, well, everything's downhill from here, and that this is actually a rite of passage for me to step into more of my feminine power and more of my feminine wisdom. And I think the more that we do that, the more that we're connected into that primordial, deep connection in this sort of, earthly way, if that kind of makes sense. Understanding as well that this space is the Holy Grail, and really honoring that. I think this comes a lot down to honoring the body and honoring like I said, honoring the womb space as a human. Also getting into tribal connection, getting your bare feet out and stomping on the earth, dancing, drumming, getting into nature and really feeling into everything that this beautiful earth has to offer. You know, like I said, the soil or sand, water, like feeling all of that on your skin, and allowing yourself to bring through the energies of that. Also, stepping into work with the shadow and understanding that the shadow is part of it. Like I said, you know, we descend and we do this shadow work so that we can ascend into the cosmic womb. So, you know, working with and looking to and learning about, for want of a better word, although this is the word that they actually bring through for me, the shadow goddesses of Kali, Lilith, Hecate, to work with them to, you know, get into that shadow and cleanse out and clear out all of those things that, you know, are no longer needed within us, that will help us ascend into that cosmic vibration and that celestial being. So, yeah, let me know again how you feel on that. If you notice those differences within you, you know, one minute we can be all celestial and connected to higher self, and the next we're like really down in that tribal, guttural, like, you know, grounded feminine. And I think one of the things that's coming up as we do move into bringing more divine feminine onto the planet, and one of the things that the agenda is, you know, the Draco reptilian and Anarchy agenda, the reason they are so scared of the divine feminine is because the divine feminine is okay with dismantling everything. The divine feminine has no problem with completely dismantling structure and starting again. It is not afraid. It is not afraid to tear everything down and begin anew. That is why women are at the forefront of the awakening. They're at the forefront of shadow work. They're at the forefront of bringing this forward, because we are not afraid to go into those shadow depths, to break all of that down, to start again. We are not afraid of that. And, you know, they know it, which is why the divine feminine has been so suppressed. And as we start moving more now into becoming the truth of who we are as divine feminine, and more women are waking up to the fact that the divine feminine are the healers, the seers, the oracles, the medicine women, we're bringing all of that back to dismantle what we have known as society and rebuild. So power to you, women. Power to you. Don't be afraid to start tapping into all of this, to opening up those sacred feminine spaces within you and connecting. So, yes, lovely. And I love stepping into these ancient mystery school teachings as we do, like I said, help the divine feminine on the planet come back into balance as we manage to, as we do our work and bringing this forward, we're bringing it into the consciousness of humanity. We are helping to activate more serpent energy, more Sophianic energy, you know, bringing all of the energies, the earth energy, Gaia. We're all helping to bring that up and bring that forward. And then the more that these energies within the planet and within the grid systems activate, then the more it activates us to step into our divine feminine. You know, it's a circle. We all, like, it continues round and round, and so we go. So, like I said, if you would like to join me and move through more of these teachings with me, with weekly circles, weekly energy updates, and talking about these teachings, along with a lot of different things that are in there. You know, we're talking like solstice rituals, full moon rituals, new moon rituals, all the, you know, goddess stuff. So yeah, just please put your name on the VIP waitlist. I'll pop that link below. Also, if you think you're sort of ready to go and you don't really want to wait till September to start stepping into these teachings, I also have a $33 offer, the Rose Codes, which is a 3-part series where you learn some goddess teachings with Mary Magdalene, Aphrodite, and Isis. With Mary Magdalene, we ignite the Magdalene flame and talk a little bit about her and who she really was in her journey. Aphrodite, we talk about what she brings forward with her keys in the mystery school, and she helps us connect into our womanhood and Venus. And then with Isis, we activate our psychic abilities and go for a beautiful journey through her temple, into her temple with her to activate that. So I'll put the link to that below too. Thank you so much for being with me. I look forward to seeing you again next week. We're going to talk a little bit more about Goddess Sophia and some mystery school teachings. And yeah, I will see you then, you guys. Have an amazing week. Bye.